Mike Woodson and the Indiana Hoosiers absolutely crushed it in recruiting this weekend.
You are Locked On Hoosiers, your daily podcast on the Indiana Hoosiers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome in, and it's the Locked On Hoosiers podcast. I'm your man, Jacob Gardz. I appreciate you being here, making this your first listen each and every day. We are a part of the Locked On Podcast Network, which is your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Well, I hope you're doing well. Hope you're having a fantastic Monday. Hope you had a great week. Sorry for the voice. We're trying to fight through some things over here, so I appreciate you sticking through it with me on that. But bottom line is this, ladies and gentlemen, Indiana basketball had a huge recruiting weekend this weekend with Braylon Mullins, Trent Sisley, and Reibe. And I mean, we crushed it. Absolutely knocked it out of the park. Did we land any commits? No, we did not. But we did land a crystal ball, and I think we have more coming, okay? So we're going to talk about that today. Plus, why right now, yes, right now, it is crunch time for Indiana. It has to be done right now for this program. And then Indiana football continues to do what they do. They took care of the 49ers of Charlotte, and now Big Ten play really begins this week. Well, it's no secret that this was a huge weekend for Indiana basketball with 3 top 75 players who were on campus for recruits, for an official visit, right? It was Trent Sisley, Reibe, and Braylon Mullins in that order in terms of where they are ranked. Sisley top 75, Reibe top 30, Mullins top 20, okay? It was a massive opportunity for this Indiana staff. We all know that Mullins and Sisley have been here quite a few times, and this is not their first time, and it was a comeback visit, if you will, for those two. But Reibe was the one that we all wanted to kind of hear about, right? We all wanted to see how this visit was going to go. And from everything I was told, everything I can see, everything I can hear, I hear it went really, really well. I hear that we did a good job with him and his family on this official visit. Sounds like there were a couple of former Indiana players that came by and were a part of this weekend as well. And so overall, it just seems like this was a really, really successful weekend. It's about as successful as a weekend can go without landing a commit. But in case you didn't see it, Indiana did pick up a crystal ball this weekend from 24/7 Sports. One of their national recruiting reporters put in his crystal ball for Trent Sisley to end up at Indiana. And that's a big deal. That's big news, okay? I don't want this to be overlooked. I don't want this to be, oh, okay, well, that's cool, I guess, but we were kind of hoping for somebody else. Don't act that way. That's what I'm going to tell you right now, because Trent Sisley is a really, really good basketball player. Like, there are big name programs, including the other one in this state, that want him really, really bad. And for us to land a crystal ball by one of the better reporters and writers at 247 Sports, yeah, that's a really big deal. Does that mean he ends up here? No, I mean, it doesn't. We all know how this works. But it's starting to go in that direction, okay? And here's what's important about Sisley. I think where there's one, there's more. That's what I feel. That's how I think about this in terms of this particular recruiting class. I just feel there's going to be 1 or 2 programs that just get everybody that they want. I think Kentucky's in there, right? I think UConn is in there. And I think Indiana could be in that group as well. If you get one, more will follow, is how I see this playing out. And so let's say that Indiana does get Trent Sisley. I think somebody like Braylon Mullins is more likely to follow. We've had that. We've been on that trail and on that train all summer long, and how that makes sense, why that would almost be a thing if it were to happen, because they have played together for so long. They're not together right now, but they know each other. They like each other. They like playing with each other. And I think Indiana this weekend did a really, really good job of selling them on that dream and selling both of them individually And I think together too on how this organization's going to go, how this program will operate, how this team is going to play if they are here. Because let's be honest, Indiana is going to have to adapt the way that they've been playing basketball for years, decades now, because the game is changing. And Mullins and Sisley are guys that want to see that. In terms of Eric Reibe, again, I think we did everything we needed to do. I think he was impressed. I think his family was impressed. And now we are in, I'd say, kind of wait and see mode on Eric Reibe. We do have another update, though, from a guy that was not here this weekend, from somebody that's already been here and has condensed his top list, has basically quit taking visits, and I'm told that it's any time now. It's any time that he decides to commit, whether it's Indiana or somewhere else. Jalen Haralson is supposedly right there. Supposedly he is right on the cusp of making his decision, knocking this thing out, and we're moving forward. And I think Indiana feels just as good as anybody else does. I think Indiana should feel just as good as anybody else does, because we know how that visit went. We know how all of the visits have gone. We know how this entire recruiting process for Jalen Haralson, one of the best players in the 2025 class, has gone. We've seen it happen in front of our eyes. So, yeah, you should feel good about it. I think you should feel good about all four of those guys. Until they commit somewhere else, we should feel happy, positive, whatever word you want to put in right there. You should feel that way. Sure, you can be nervous because if we swing and miss on all of them, we're screwed, is basically the way to put it. But I feel good about it, and I think you should too, because Harrelson's right there. He's going to commit any day now. And I think Mullins, Sisley, and Reibe are right around the corner too. And realistically, do we get all four? I don't think so, but it's not out of the realm of possibilities. It's not just an insane idea. So keep an open mind, I think, because I think Indiana, we have done a good enough job. We've done a good enough job with all four of them and others to get them here to Bloomington, to have them commit to this program. So when it happens, we need to be excited, but not surprised. But if it doesn't happen, we need to be not surprised, but we can be disappointed. Does that make sense? Because we've done our job. Now, we can't stop. Don't stop texting. Don't stop calling. Don't stop seeing them if that's possible. Like, don't stop now, because now it's crunch time. Now it's time to make things happen with the biggest names in recruiting in this 2025 class. The ones you've put all the work in for, you've got to make it happen right now. And I'll tell you why. I'll tell you what crunch time means and why it's so important in the trend that we're going on as the season's right around the corner. We'll have that for you coming up next on Locked on Hoosiers. Today's episode of Locked on Hoosiers is brought to you by FanDuel. Hey, NFL fans, you can start the season with a big return on FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. So when you get a bunch in the middle, or you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your live bets. Super, super cool. You can bet right there, but then you can check on all the different games, stat lines, who's about to score, what's going on, throw some live bets in there, maybe some live parlays if you want to. I love it, man. It really is cool. FanDuel has upgraded their app every single week, every year, really, it seems like. It just, they make it so user-friendly, and you can do so much more than just place a bet in the FanDuel app. So you'll get started with a $200 in bonus bets guaranteed right now when you place your first $5 bet. That's $200 in bonus bets guaranteed with your first $5 bet. So go to FanDuel.com to get started and download America's #1 sportsbook. Welcome back into Locked on Hoosiers. Thanks so much for being here again. Apologies for the voice. Didn't know this was going to be happening today, but hey, Sometimes it happens in this business. So appreciate you being with us and appreciate you being an everydayer here on Locked On Hoosiers. If you're enjoying the content and you've been coming back and you want to become an everydayer, or it's your first time here and you're enjoying what you see and what you hear, be sure you do a couple of things for me, okay? On the video side on YouTube, like this video. That tells me you like the content and you want more. Be sure you comment down below who you think Indiana is going to get out of those 4 guys we've been talking about. Which one of them or how many of them will commit to Indiana in the near future? Tell me down in the YouTube comments below. And then the best thing you can do, you see our Locked On Hoosiers logo. To the right of that, hit the subscribe button. That is the ultimate best way to help us here for this free show to you every single day. So those of you on the video side, do those things for me. Audio side, be sure you subscribe over there if you can. Follow on there. Turn on notifications. Apple, Spotify, Amazon, doesn't matter. Be sure that you do those things for me on audio as well. Well, I told you that it's crunch time for Indiana basketball and this entire program as a whole. It's crunch time in so many ways. And what does crunch time mean? You hear that phrase all the time. Oh, it's crunch time, right? It means you got to lock it down and get it done. It's time to put up or shut up. That's what it means. That's what Indiana has to do right now in many facets, not just in recruiting. But recruiting is very important here, and that's what we're going to begin with because you've done, as I told you in the previous segment, you've done the work, man. You've done what you've needed to do to make this successful, to land some of the best recruits in the 2025 class. Heck, you're already putting in work for the kids in 2026, and that's phenomenal. That's great. But you've got to find a way to land commitments. You can do all the work you want. You can bring in all the visitors you want. You can fly all over the country and see these kids. You can send as many texts and phone calls as you want to. But if you don't land commitments, it's all for nothing to an extent. I know there's a huge argument right now. And basketball is a little tougher, I think, but especially on the football side where you recruit these kids for a couple of years. You don't land the commitment, but you don't tell them to kick rocks. You don't just shun them and disown them and never talk to them again because of the transfer portal, right? I think the transfer portal has become something where even if you don't land that big time commit, if you keep a good relationship with them and it doesn't work out at whatever school they went to, Kansas, for example, you still would have an opportunity down the road to possibly get them on your team, to get them a part of your program if it doesn't work out. Again, I think we see that more in football than we do basketball just because kids typically don't play college basketball as long, but that's not always the case. I mean, look at Indiana's team right now. Most of it is transfers, but I'm talking about landing a transfer portal addition from a guy that you were hardly recruiting, or I guess you were hardcore recruiting in his high school days. You see what I'm saying there? So you do have that avenue, which is very, very useful. And I think we have to all keep that in mind. So it's not all for nothing, I guess, if you don't land them initially, but I see it that way. I do. I see it that way because I'm tired of Indiana putting in work and being in top 5s and being in top 3s, and then these kids picking somewhere else and then going on and being highly successful. Because it's not a talent problem. It's not a talent, evaluation problem. It's not a problem in picking the wrong dudes or picking bad people. That's not what this is at all. I think Indiana we've just been falling short. We've been falling short of what we're supposed to be doing. 1 and 2 kids per class is not going to get it done. I've told you that several times. My everydayers, you know this. It's not going to get it done here at Indiana, not in today's world of college basketball, because I still believe that building from the high school ranks is the way to win. I do. I believe that long term. Transfer portal can help you in one-off situations. This year will be a great example of that for Indiana basketball because we didn't have a choice. But what happens if you don't land the commitment or the transfer portal class like we did this year? What happens if you don't bring in Umar Ballo, Miles Rice, Cannon Carlisle, Luke Goody? Like, what happens if those guys don't come here? We were done. We had nothing. Everybody left. We had nothing. And so we were going to be in a really, really tough spot with two veterans, a young Mackenzie Mbako and a young Bryson Tucker, who we don't know how much he's going to see the floor this year. You see what I'm saying? You can't rely on that. And Mike Woodson has made it very clear that he wants to win the state of Indiana back. He wants to get this place back. And I've seen so many of you begging for that, asking for this program, for us to get back to getting in-state recruits because they haven't been coming here. You're right. I mean, we've got some, but not as much as we'd like. And I think that's why we're trying to do what we're doing right now with the players that we're recruiting. And you have to get it done right now. Not only is it crunch time for recruiting, though, it's crunch time on the floor. You've got to show something this year in terms of a proof of concept, right? They want to see what we're preaching. We told you about Mullins and Sisley and even Reibe, really, how we have proven, or I guess shown, or told them, I guess is the best way to say it. We've told them how we're going to adjust the way we play, especially on the offensive side of the floor, to make it more towards their style of play. Mullins and Sisley really in particular here. Okay, that's great. You have to prove that, though, because if you don't, they will leave. They will go somewhere else. They don't have to stay committed if they do commit to Indiana. If you don't show them that guards are going to be a huge part of this offense, see ya. They're gone. They'll wave goodbye, and they'll never come back. And they'll go play somewhere else, like a UConn, like a North Carolina, like a Kentucky, that will allow them to be the guards that they want to be. They'll be successful on the floor, they'll make postseason runs, and they'll get to the NBA. Indiana has to find a way to get to that point, because you have to prove to them what you're selling. Because not only will you lose them if you don't deliver, you will lose future recruits who will talk to those guys and they'll say, yeah, they're going to tell you a whole bunch of stuff, but they don't mean it. So I probably wouldn't go there. That's what's going to happen here. That's how recruiting works. And so you have to find a way to prove it right now. Not even find a way. You have to do it. Do it. Change the way you do. And Mike Woodson has told us that. He has straight up said that to you and me, the fans. So we have to find a way to accept that. And I'll be honest, I think a lot of it is older fans in this fan base who haven't seen this type of basketball from us. It's going to look different. I hope it looks different. And we have to be okay with that. We have to accept that, because can we all agree that we've got to change something in order to win some games? We got to win, man. And we're not doing that right now. So you do all of those things on the floor, in recruiting, you're going to be a good team, and you're going to be a good program, and you're going to go in the direction that you want to go. But that has to happen right now. And I think with the help of guys like Mullins and Sisley and Reibe and Haralson, they can move that needle for us. They can help us get better right now. The year they step on campus, they can make this program much, much better and take it to the next level. And that has to happen right now. Well, coming up on our final segment on Locked On Hoosiers, Indiana football, they keep rolling. They take care of Charlotte, the 49ers, this weekend as they look ahead to Maryland this weekend. We'll recap and I'll give you my thoughts when we come back here on Locked On Hoosiers. Today's episode of Locked On Hoosiers brought to you by Game Time. Game Time is my go-to ticketing app for any sort of event, sports, music, comedy, theater, you name it. I use the Game Time app every single time. Game Time has a new feature right now called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets for your favorite live events even easier. Game Time Picks filters out all the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. I go to Game Time every time I want to go to sports. I've used it for comedy. They just have the best ticket selections, the best ticket prices. My favorite part is the all-in pricing. When you toggle this feature, it shows your total upfront with no surprise fees at checkout. So all you got to do, toggle the feature, and you'll see your all-in pricing every single time. Plus, their ticket coverage is the best in the business. Your purchase is covered with the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem the code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? It's game time. Final segment here on Locked On Hoosiers. Appreciate you being here. And if you're looking for your second listen, your second watch every single day, of course, Locked On Hoosiers is your first, and I appreciate you making that. So be sure you go and check out Locked On College Football. Okay, Spencer McLaughlin doing a wonderful job over there. Had us on for a segment last week, and he joins us on our Big Ten Squad episodes as well. You guys seem to be enjoying those. So Locked On College Football, man, it's a great second watch for you. If you have a longer drive to work, or even when you get to work, or if you're getting ready in the morning after you listen to us, go check out Locked On College Football with Spencer McLaughlin. He covers everything about college football, huge storylines, a lot of games to go over from this past weekend. So go and check him out. And speaking of football, we're talking college football as well, with Indiana taking down Charlotte 52-14. And look, we were up 10-0. Charlotte had a couple of scores. We put up 21 in the second quarter. They made it a little interesting, but then a second half shutout allowed Indiana to run away with this thing. And overall, I'm impressed. I am. I mean, it was pretty much everything we wanted it to be. Indiana jumped on them. Saw a little adversity, right? Saw Charlotte kind of score a little bit, have a couple of big plays, and then we responded really, really well offensively and defensively. And I got to say, man, Curtis Rourke can play. Curtis Rourke's a baller. 16 of 20, 258, and a touchdown. I mean, he's just doing his thing. And this Indiana team continues to run the ball really, really well. Third down efficiency wasn't all that great, but we only got to 10 third downs on the day, so not all that crazy. Red zone offense was really, really good. 510 total yards for this team. And look at the split. I mean, 288 passing, 222 rushing. It's just really, really nice to see. And I'll tell you what, too, Indiana's playing clean football. Clean football right now. 3 penalties, like 30 yards, I think is what it ended up being. Unbelievable. Like, yes, it's against Charlotte, but how many times do you see so many of these programs, even against bad teams, false starts and holdings and late head out of bounds or pass interference or just bad penalties? Indiana just doesn't make a whole lot of those. 3, yeah, whatever, but not bad. We're playing clean football, man. Time of possession was pretty even, but overall, I mean, very few penalties, no turnovers. Defense played lights out, especially in the second half, and they're flying around. And the offense put up another 50 bomb. What else? I mean, what else could you want? That's basically what I ask is, what else could you ask for from this Indiana team? You're getting playmakers everywhere. You're getting running backs, so many different bodies in there. I mean, Ellison and Tyson Lawton are beasts. We know that. But you're getting so many other guys in there too. And how many people caught a football this Saturday? 2, 4, 6, 7. So 7 different people caught a pass this weekend. I love it. I absolutely love it. And most of the touchdowns, of course, were scored on the ground thanks to Tyson Lawton with 2. Overall, you got exactly what you were looking for. Everybody played well. Everybody stayed relatively healthy as far as we know. And now we look forward to Maryland. And that's a huge deal, man. It's a huge, huge deal because it's not a top 25 matchup. Indiana's not a top 25 team. We still continue to receive votes. We are on the outside looking in. We continue to get some votes. I believe we're about 27th in the AP poll. So that's cool. That's fine. Hey, keep sleeping on us. That's fine by us. We don't care. We'll prove it on the football field. And if you look right now, according to FanDuel, we opened up as a 7-point favorite at home. How about that, huh? 7-point favorite at home over Maryland, who, you remember, their only loss this season as a 3-1 team was to Michigan State in week 2 when they played a Big Ten opponent. They've bounced back. Looked shaky against Villanova. They beat Virginia too, but Virginia's bad. So, yeah, I think a 7-point favorite is not all that crazy to think about if you're Indiana. But again, we have to go in and take care of business. Go in and treat this like it's a Super Bowl because Big Ten plays upon us, and we have to take care of these types of teams and these types of games. Really looking forward to Cignetti's comments throughout this week, the preparation, the notes from practice, because it's Saturday, early kickoff on the Big Ten Network. And Indiana has a chance to go 2-0 in the Big Ten and start 5-0 for the first time in a long time. But overall, from this past weekend, I saw everything I wanted to see. Everybody's, again, just playing really, really well and clean football. That's what I have to highlight here is clean football and keep doing your thing. And I think Indiana's got a chance to make some noise with a manageable schedule this season, and we're just chugging right along here in Bloomington. Well, that's going to do it for today's episode of Locked On Hoosiers. I appreciate you being here. I really, really do. Hope you had a great weekend. Hope you have a fantastic Monday. Lots more content coming out this week. Who could commit this week? Guess we'll have to wait and see. We'll react to it all here on Locked On Hoosiers and get you ready for Indiana football versus Maryland this weekend. Reminder to like this video, comment down below your thoughts on Indiana football's performance against Charlotte and your expectations for their game against Maryland. And then be sure you hit subscribe. It's just to the right of our Locked On Hoosiers logo, whether you're on your computer, phone, tablet, doesn't matter. Hit the subscribe button. That helps us out. Lets me know that you want to be here and you want more content, okay? We are back tomorrow, Hoosier fans. So until then, stay safe, and I'll talk to you later.